Good morning. This is Munira from Chicagoland. We
Hello.
are live, and we are live from the home office today. I am the CEO and founder of Kismet Ventures, which is my company. And I do these videos because I want to bring value to people who are adding value. And they do not expose themselves enough, and they do not share what they do enough. So I'm on the mission of exposing them and promoting them. Today my guest is Rory Brutus Brown. And hi Brutus, thank you so much for coming on.
Hello, how you doing there?
Good. So tell me a little bit about yourself, where you live, anything about yourself that you want to share.
Okay, let's see here. My name is Roy Brutus Brown. I go by Brutus Brown. I'm from Chicago. I'm a real estate investor, and we're investing on the south side of Chicago. I'm part of the Renatus community in terms of education. Although this year, what I did, I promised myself I am not doing any marketing. Not this year. I want to solely focus on real estate investing because we have a course that talks about investor ID, where it doesn't matter so much the money you want to make as you do what you like and what you feel good about. I suck at marketing, but I love negotiating. I love talking to people. I love finding properties. And so I hooked up with a friend of mine I've known about 30 years. He's kind of been in the business. I know about 3 or 4 people who are real estate investors, but if you call them real estate investors, they feel insulted because it's got such a bad rep. He's been in the game for a while, and he's in a situation now with his company. He does not have time to find property. He does not have time to work with the contractors. He does not have any time for that. So we're mixing my education with his knowledge and my time. And man, we got something nice going on. Like I said, we have right now, we have one property that is 60% finished. That's a two unit. We have another property we're going to start demo on tomorrow, as a matter of fact. And then we got to get back on schedule because we shoot for maybe 2 properties in June, 2 properties in July, 2 properties in August, and then one throughout the rest of the year, so we wind up this year as 12, review what we did bad, review what we did good, and then accelerate. So that's where we're at.
Okay, so I'm going to take you back because you said a lot of things that most people who are viewing this don't understand. You said you're real estate investors and you have education, right?
Yes.
What is, you said Renatus. What is Renatus, and what kind of education, do you have, and how do they get it?
Renatus, to me, in my opinion, is the best real estate education you can get because it goes into not just how to buy and sell property. It goes into how to find the property, what type of property to look for, what to watch out for. When you make money in real estate, one thing you need to do is protect yourself, protect your interest. It shows you how to get involved with entities such as LLCs, S corps. What are the tax implications? What are the tax liabilities associated with that? It shows you the education I have shows you how to pay off mortgages early. It's really, to say it's just real estate education is kind of doing a disservice because it's so much broader than that. And they have a system in the program where you can actually, when you bring people into the education, you get paid. You bring people in.
So my thing is based.
But my thing is this: is that as great as education is, I want to focus on strictly working on the real estate part because that's what brought me to it, and I noticed that's where my passion is at. If someone wants to join education, fine, but that's not my focus. My focus is saying, this is what I'm doing. I'm building. Like, for instance, it shows you how to build long-term wealth. So in July, I should be getting my first multi-unit to rent out. That way to go along with my fix and flips. but that's the education I have. Renatus. It's top notch, and I can't find any faults in it whatsoever.
So for people who don't know and want to have more information about this, what do you suggest?
I suggest them want to go to YouTube or Google and look up Renatus. See what people are saying, and do your due diligence. Now, I will say this. I have been with Dean Garassi, I think that's his name, the Clever Investor, also a number of different programs. They have books and stuff. The difference is when you have people that you meet every week, you have people who have like-minded like you are. It gives you certain strength. When you can bounce ideas off people, you can network. It gives you a leg up. That's something other programs didn't have. When I first came to the program, the way I found it, there was a roadside sign on the south side of Chicago about 2.5, 3 years ago. And it said a real estate investor was looking for a mentor. I was looking to mentor a trainee. So I called it. I talked to the person. They invited me to come out to Downers Grove, which is a suburb of Chicago, and I did not go. I had to be at work at 7 o'clock the next day. I just didn't see a point. I was like, I thought it was another scam. He called me back. We talked. I agreed. I gave him my word this time I would go the following Thursday night. Went there. Truthfully, I was very impressed and intimidated by the number of people who were at this meeting. I remember going in. I'm an educated person. I have a bachelor's degree. I've had grad school, all that. I'm an educated person. And I was intimidated because at the time I was a warehouse manager. And so I went inside and they introduced the different instructors. They're talking about study groups and stuff. They left out, and then they talked about real estate investing. And it was sounding great. And then they got to the part about the price. And I was getting up to leave. A guy in the community named Jay Abramovich, I think that's his name. If I mispronounce your last name, I'm sorry. He stopped me as I was going out the door, the main door, to leave the building. And he asked me why was I leaving. I was like, I can't afford that money they're talking about in there. I can't afford that money. And he asked me, did I believe in real estate investing? I said, yeah. He said, did I believe in what I was here? Did I like what I was hearing? I said, yes, but I can't afford that. It's a waste of my time. He was like, tell you what, do me a favor, go back in there and finish the presentation, and then come back Monday night. If you still don't see, if you still don't see any way you can do this, at least you got all the information. So I agreed to it. I went back there Monday night. First day I noticed the crowd was a lot smaller. It's like, okay, I guess they're going to get intense here. And then I remember people were asking questions. I remember there was a couple of attorneys and a couple of accountants. So I was like, okay, these are professional people. Let me see what they're saying. So then they're going over the prices, like, here we go. But then they start talking about the funding options. I was like, okay, let's hear this. And they're talking about a thing called fractured lending, where instead of getting money from just one bank, you get it from 2 or 3. And I sent the application in. I got lines of credit from Citibank, Bank of America, and Chase. And I got it in terms of business credit cards. And so now all of a sudden, within 6 weeks, I had the money to get the big education package. Problem is, I couldn't get anybody to sell it to me. And I remember I went to the last big event they have, which they call Super Saturdays. They have every Saturday, first Saturday, they have a huge meeting. I went out there and I met the CEO. And I told him how impressed I was and how I liked the program. He was like, well, why don't you go ahead and join? I was like, I have the money to join right now in my pocket. And I pulled out the credit cards. I was like, I just need somebody to sign me up. He got my mentor. She said she was having computer issues, but got me started. And I started focusing on the marketing aspect, because if you do it right, you make nice money with it. But I suck at it. So finally, after a couple of years, I realized I wanted to do this. And there's a video by Steve Harvey. It talks about take that leap, where you go to a cliff and you mentally jump off. So you're going for your dream. As you go down this cliff, in your knees. but you keep going because you're going to eventually soar. So I did it. I was like, I got this education. I had my savings. I walked up to my boss, put on my 2-week notice. They kept me there for 6 months. Then we trained somebody else. And I left, and I was into it. And I started with the marketing, and I sucked at it. I had no job, but I sucked at it. But I had my savings. And then I tried wholesaling, and I started making a little money at it. I was like, okay, this works. But I fell in with the wrong people. They weren't Renata's people. Wholesaling is a way that you can make money in real estate investing by finding property, getting under contract, and then selling that contract, which is paper, to another investor. But there's more to it than that. You have to find the after repair value of the property. You have to estimate the repairs. You can estimate the cost of money, which is how much interest is he going to have to pay when he borrows that money? Like if he's borrowing for hard money or something like that. Carrying costs. How much money is it going to cost you to hold that property while it's being repaired, and then while you're waiting to close on it, waiting for it to close when you're selling it? Okay. Then you also have to have selling fees. Are you going to use a real estate agent? If they do, how much that's going to be? You got to put all these numbers together. And also you have to factor in the real estate investor's profit and your profit. Then you have this one little number. That's the max you can offer. And so when you get that number, you make an offer to profit, but you don't offer the max. It's a form of negotiation. And I was doing that. But a lot of the wholesalers I met were not doing that, but they weren't having any success. And the 4 deals I went through within about 5 months, netted nice money. I used that process. And I ended up following an investor I did 2 deals with a wholesaler, 2 deals with, but come to find out he was passing on deals because his idea was to get $10,000, $12,000 per deal, and mine was to get $5,000 if I can. And I found out that he was using other people, and long story short, my attorney advised me to leave him alone, so I did. Luckily, I had another buddy of mine that I've known for years, who I told you about was now my business partner. He would just say, if you find good property, good deals, I'll pay it for it. We'll split the profits. He was slow on that. He was kind of hesitant because he was nervous, but we finally had a meeting in January. So let's do this for real. And we started getting paperwork together. We signed a partnership agreement, and we started looking at property. But I will say this. I have passed on 10 times as many properties as we've gotten because the numbers didn't work. So anybody out there is doing anything like that, they must run their numbers. They must.
So, so you mentioned Dan Graziosi and then the other people. You have these boot camps that show up. You might want to lower your camera.
Okay.
So yeah, there you go. So so you talk about all of these things. So why is this education different than the other people? I mean, what is the difference? Have you paid for the other ones?
I paid for some of it. The big difference is this one is that basically the others offer real estate education and pretty good education. But Renata's offers you a career, a business opportunity to start your own business and everything that comes with it. And you have actual people. I make a joke, but I was kind of for real. When I paid the money, if it had been a scam, I knew what building I was going to physically and put my hands around somebody's throat and demand my money back. Because you have people, and that's the big, because once it's intimidating. When you start looking at property by yourself, you don't know exactly what you're doing. But when you have people who are doing it, not only does it give you confidence, but you can ask questions to. And then you realize you have the actual network. For instance, the property we're working on now, 60% done. The contract is from Renata's. And I found him through another person who's with Renata's. So it all comes back. Whereas Dean Garassi and the Clever Investor and the guy from Atlanta, real estate investing is local. The laws in Chicago, the laws in Cook County, the laws in Illinois are different from any other place. I don't care what education you have to have ability to adapt that to where you're at. Because there are people here who are doing it, they've adopted it. You don't have to, don't recreate anything. Follow their path. Listen to their words. Trust what they're saying. Trust and verify, and then take action. That's the big difference.
So I heard a few things, right? You said they meet in Downers Grove, which is a suburb of Chicago. Is this education only for the people in Illinois?
Nope. It's supposedly it's all over the country. I just know about Illinois because that's where my focus at. As a matter of fact, they have actual meeting places around the city of Chicago itself. But no, they're all over the country.
They're all over the country. So then you have to then take the education and then learn the laws of wherever you are if you want to do the real estate.
Right. And the difference there is the other places that you'll have a group of investors there who have the same education, who've already learned the laws and have adapted their strategies to those laws. So now you have references you can go to. They say, yes, they tell you to do this, but here you need to do that.
So there are people who, I want to do real estate investing, right? And I know I'm part of Renatus too. And there's a lot of good information there that I've put into practice. But before we got the education, people would always say, okay, go buy a house, right?
Right.
And they're selling it at their price. So most people want to start with real estate but don't know how to do it.
Right.
What is your advice to them?
Get educated. Get education, because a lot of people have talked to me about it, and they want to go. They ask me, well, did you just go to a bank? The problem with a bank is this. Number one, you're going to get 4 mortgages and then they cut you off. Number two, you go to a bank to get money to do like a fix and flip. They're going to give you money based on the property value as it is now. That means that even if you get enough to get the property, you still got to find the money for the funding. But if you don't know that, now all of a sudden you bought this property, you can't do anything with it. Get educated, because also you want to make sure that the property you're getting, basically when you make money in real estate, you make it when you buy it, not when you sell it. You want to make sure that it's going to be a good investment. The only way you make sure it's going to be a good investment, you have to run the numbers, and you have to know your market you're working in. If you don't, you can get in trouble. And I see it in Chicago. I know there are houses that have been on the market for a year. Something's wrong if it's been fixed up and sitting for a year. It's way overpriced, and they put too much into it. An example, the property, the 2-unit we're working on, we both know it's not high end because of the market. So we've limited what we can do with it, and we can still get it and do a profit. The second property we're doing on right now, we're gutting. We know that's high end. So we're looking at it with totally different glasses on. And something else with the education. Just because you might not think it'll work one way, Renatus gives you enough strategies where you can say, I might not get fix and flip this one, but maybe I can rent it. Maybe I can hold it, sell it in a couple of years. I spoke of wholesaling earlier. The same way I evaluated a wholesale property is identical to the way that I evaluate a fix and flip property. But it is different if I'm going to be getting it to rent it. That's a different valuation. And all that comes from the education, because you have to know, are you in a renter's market? What can you get? What's going to return on investment? But also, you have to determine if you have what they call hard money. Most of those loans are only good for 6 months. That'll be a hard thing to do if you're going to rent it, because you're looking long term. Another reason you don't want to go to a bank for fix and flip, a lot of times there are penalties if you pay that mortgage off within a year. So all that knowledge is gained through education. But I will say this. One thing I have learned working with a business partner, there's a lot of ins and outs that are not covered by the education. The education tells you how to get a property, get the comps on it, get it fixed up and sell it. But it won't tell you how to lay a floor. It won't tell you how to do sheetrock. And I don't do it. but I have to know that they're doing it right. So you have to know that too. It doesn't tell you how to go pick out cabinets, appliances, countertops. That's all part of it. And that's what's exciting because now I'm learning that, you know, and it's awesome. I got the best job in the world.
So that's you're learning by experience, right? You have the book knowledge, and then you're learning by experience.
Right,
So,
but I'm learning that from somebody who's actually been doing it also for about 15 years. So it's like I have a backup. Plus, also, I've had opportunity to get a situation where we have the money to invest. We don't use any lenders. We use zero lenders. But then it's a matter of just finding the right property instead of finding a property and now trying to find the money. So it's a little different, but like I said, I think I got about the best job in the world.
that's awesome because you enjoy doing that and you're happy because you're right.
Yeah.
That's what makes, you know, waking up in the morning very lucrative.
Yeah, that's what that class that we have, Investor ID. That's what we're talking about, giving us a couple of strategies that you enjoy. I'm a little extreme though, because I've had my friends say, Brutus, you've been drinking too much coffee. I'm like, no, I'm happy. I got the best job in the world. But look at you, like, yeah, I have the best job in the world because it's something I've always wanted to do. And if you have something that you love doing, you have passion for, the money success will come. But the happiness, the contentment, I'm happy. Oh, got a spot there. There you go.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so you are saying to people, if you want to become a real estate, get the education, get educated, and start somewhere. So when you got the education, how long? I know you said it, but I'm going to rephrase the question. How long before you started actually doing the deals?
Real estate deals? About 2 years.
So is that the time frame for everybody or?
No, that's because I was focusing more on the marketing aspect. Now the marketing is great for the company. You can make some really nice money. I just happen to suck at it. A lot of people who are doing great with it. But it took me to realize that, you know, let's try to do something that you enjoy you can do. Now, once I decided that, and once I decided I'm going to stick to just real estate investing for the year, life changed completely. And happiness went up, passion went up, success went up. And now I'm doing, you know, it's like, I look at it like this. If somebody went to University of Chicago, which is an extremely nice university, and got the education there, right? And now they're recruiting people for the education, but they're not using the education. You know, you're like, it's kind of like, what are you doing? And I started having people asking me. Number one, they always ask, well, what education do you have? And I would tell them I have the big package. What have you done with it? I hadn't done anything really with it. Then I started wholesaling, but still it wasn't the same. I want to be able, when someone asks me now, starting in January, I want to be able to say, I've done X amount of fix and flips. I've got X amount of property. This works. Okay. Then I will market. But I feel that I want to be able to show people I'm doing this because this is a great opportunity, but people have heard so many negative things that they're scared to try. And then if they're hesitant, you start talking about the money, and then they go for the basic package, which is a little cheaper, and then they meet with that resistance, it's easier to quit. But if you can show them personally, keep going, find an excuse to win, then they'll find that success. Anybody can find a reason to quit. Anybody, any reason.
But that's
to win.
So what you are saying, what you are saying is so true because anything that people want to do, right? It's not only real estate investing. Anything they want to do, they just have to take the first step and begin, right?
Yes.
Start. I know that most people, I mean, real estate investing is so hyped up because people are showing, you know, they say you will be starting to do deals in 3 months. And it doesn't work like that because right now in Chicago, I've seen that there's a lot of shortage of properties because, you know, there's more buyers than there's sellers, right?
Right.
and then the interest rate is higher up a little bit. So there's all these things that we have to understand, the fluctuation of market and everything. And I understand that, real estate is also a vehicle to grow long-term wealth, because everybody that I have read upon, all the rich people, somehow, somewhere, they're related to real estate.
Yes.
And it makes a difference.
The whole thing about it with the market here in Chicago, what we've seen, like I said, we've walked away from a number of properties we just didn't want. We've lost a number of properties because we didn't act swift enough, and we've lost properties because we got bad information from realtors. There's a number of places out here people are paying more than the asking price. Where you're thinking that people are paying less, they're paying more, but it's competitive. So certain rules that we've started to follow is that like for instance, they used to say that you can drive the streets and see for sale signs. Well, if they're on the MLS and there's signs out there by Remax by for sale, there's a reason why it hasn't sold. A prime example, there's a house in Chicago I thought it was a nice house. I said, I'm not going to do any wholesaling, I'll do real estate. Found the house. My buddy said, you find it, buy it, run the numbers, man. So I found this house. I got excited. I was like, this is a great house. And the price on the house was like about $45,000. I looked at it and I was like, oh, we can get at least $150,000 for this home. So put a bid in. Told my partner about it. Started running the numbers. Realities are setting in that the comps weren't that high. But I was like, we can still make something happen. The guy selling it was a wholesaler who, I don't know if he had bad information. He was saying, oh, just a little fix and flip, little something to do with it. I went out and found a couple of contractors, got bids on the house. They were bidding on a house. They were saying about $62,000 to $65,000.
Repairs.
For repairs. I looked at that, and then I looked at the asking price, and then immediately we were at $100,000. We haven't even talked about anything else. So, but luckily I knew enough to do that. We walked away. It looked nice. It looked cheap, but it wasn't. And there's been a number of properties that after we get in there and analyze it, we have to walk away. But that house has been sitting for a year, and we saw the reason. It was just overpriced. Even though it looked cheap, it was overpriced for what had to be done to it. So you have to run your numbers, otherwise you get trapped.
So what you're saying is follow your passion, get started, get educated, and then work your numbers. Work with a team of people who already know and are seasoned, and then you'll be successful. Even if it's a slow path, but you got to start somewhere, right? Right.
You're not going to be a millionaire the next year. You're not. But at least if you can look at it like, for instance, this is the way I look at it. In the city of Chicago, I think city workers in terms of like police and fire make about $70,000 to $80,000 a year, right? So then if you take that number, and you're like, they live pretty good. So I know if I can make that, I'll do good. So the first thing you do is you try to build up enough where you can you're matching what you're making from your job. Then if you're doing that, you cover your bills. Now you're ready to walk away, but make sure you have enough to cover while you're looking. Once you replace your salary, then you can start making other goals, replace with another salary if you're working another job, and then you're going down the road. Right now, off one deal, I should make more than I used to make in a year at the company I worked at. So what I mean by that is not just talking about the money, but the happiness will bring you that money as long as you enjoy what you're doing. So the way I've been measuring it is that if they make this money and they're living pretty good, if I can make that money, enjoy what I'm doing, and still have some free time, I'll be happy. Maybe I won't make the $500,000 or $600,000 that these movie star real estate investors say. But if I can have a comfortable living and be comfortable, I'm happy. I'm not greedy. I just want to be happy. And that's where I'm at.
So do what makes you happy.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your message.
Okay.
Mr. Brutus, and I will end our call here. But you know, we are investors, and we are people who add value to people because we want people to find their wealth. But
Yes.
the message here is, you know, get started,
Yeah.
do your due diligence, get started.
I would even say, hurry up and start making your mistakes now. Make all your mistakes. Don't be afraid to fail. Make your mistakes because you're going to learn from those mistakes. You're not going to get it right. I sucked at marketing, so I was like, okay, I'm going to hit it from another way. That doesn't mean I'm not going to market. I sucked when I was trying to be a wholesaler first. I got better. I sucked at the fixing and flipping, but I'm getting better. Suck is okay. Just learn from it. So,
I
yep.
love that message, because if you fail, make your mistakes now, because then, you know, you won't be able to make that mistake. And I remember, you know, one of my, not my professors, but one of my bosses in my previous employment, he said, you know, when you are called on that mistake that you've made, you are sure never to make it again. You know,
Yes.
because you're always looking to fix that mistake all the time. And, you know, I used to work in the pharma world. So that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, no.
Appreciate you being interviewed and allowing me to interview you. And for more information on this, either you can send your queries to me or to Mr. Brown, and we will leave his link down on YouTube as well. Thank you and have a good day.